An Indian friend of mine said it'd be great, because he used to be, he's kind of collector of mine, if you know, of pictures and stuff. He said, why don't you do a book on India? I said, it's impossible, it'd take me 500 years. I said, I tell you what, I could do, we do New Delhi, and then maybe do Kerala, so you do one bit of India at a time, because it's like going to the British Museum and looking at everything. I mean, you can only go to the British Museum if you choose what to look at, and you should spend your half hour with that and then leave. And India's a bit like that. It's like going to the biggest visual museum in the world. I've been to Delhi so many times. I was first there in the 60s, and I met Mother Teresa. I photographed a hospice for her, and I had a girlfriend there too, an Indian girlfriend. Delhi now, I know places in London that are more Indian. You go down to where I come from, the East End, you go down to Upton Park or somewhere on a Saturday, and it's much more exotic than going to the market in Delhi, which is, it's great the way they've transformed it here, and it'll probably last longer here. The Muslim section, not the Hindus so much, but the Muslim section tend to keep to themselves much more, which is kind of sad in a way. It could be much better if we all, like London's always been the melting pot of the world. America's not the melting pot of the world. London's the melting pot of the world. I think science is just catching up with the Hindus. It's the other way round, because they've known about all this for years and years, for 5,000 years maybe. And science is just catching up with what they already knew. I mean, I'm not talking about God, but because, you'd be an American, you probably believe in God. You're very odd Americans, you believe in God, and you're one of the few countries in the world that still have capital punishment. I mean, the Hindu religion is kind of so big, and it's not unlike the Greek gods. It's a bit the same, really. It's the same sort of thing. And I love although I'm not religious, I love the idea of the rituals and the mysticism, and I love that you've got to keep all that alive, otherwise life would be depressing. I immediately, the moment I get off the plane, I start shooting, because when you've been there for a week, things start to look normal. So you have to do it straight away. I mean, I used to drive assistants mad. They're always dying because we've been on a plane for maybe going to Australia for 22 hours, and directly they got off the plane, out comes the 5.4 camera or whatever we're using. I don't look at them as travel pictures. It's just pictures. I mean, something you did in India, there are not many people in my books like that. Or if they are people, I kind of look for the ridiculous in a way. Because I'm not looking for the soul of India, it's just the moment, the superficial moment in a way. It's not deep. But then if you like, you can read things into it. Because of your personality, you interpret the way you see things, and it's not really the way the thing is. If you wanted to photograph something as it really is, just get a machine to take the picture in a way and cut out all human contact with it. And that would be much more honest documentation. Sometimes the tool helps you go somewhere. I mean, I don't think digital helps you go too many places. Digital is a bit like sex today, isn't it? It's all instant, and there's no seduction, and there's no waiting for the film to come back, which is exciting because you can reassess what you've done, and then always the disappointment of getting the contact. So it's always so disappointing. You think, I should have asked him, I should have done, that's wrong, it's a shame I didn't do that. And there's always that, because you can save a picture with Photoshop, but you can't save an emotion with Photoshop. I mean, the reason I did fashion was, I'm not interested in fashion, as you can see. The reason I did fashion photography, it was the only possibility at that period of doing something creative that you vaguely got paid for. And I say very vaguely got paid for. And I always tried to use the same girls, because I thought the girl was more interesting usually than the frock. I mean, there are exceptional artists like Balenciaga, but they're very few and far between. They're just frocks copied from old Hollywood movies half the time. I always thought I'd photograph a girl, it's like a portrait in a frock, rather than some blobby gobby model sort of doing a number 6 pose. I preferred personalities like Angelica Houston or Penelope Tree, somebody who had a personality that I could use in the pictures. That's one of the great things about the camera, a still camera. It captures the only moment we ever have in life, because we only have that second or nanosecond, and then it's history. and before that it's the future. So photography has that great knack of, I've seen Cartier-Bresson's Contacts. It wasn't the decisive moment, it was a calculated moment because he knew what he was up to. So it captures that moment, doesn't it, which is exciting. And even the most boring things in life need to be... I learned this when I was really young, that you start seeing things more when you photograph them. And you don't really see things often. You see them and then think, oh, now, even an old-fashioned telephone with dials, I mean, if we hadn't recorded it, it's kind of interesting object, and it's as interesting as the Caravaggio still life, with a jug of the period. It's sort of everything's got a reason to be recorded in a way, I think. I think it's, even as a social document, I think it's quite exciting. Yeah, you can be really famous now. You know that. You can be, as Andy said, you're famous. You can be famous for doing nothing, which is kind of an odd... I kind of like it in a way. It's a bit dada. It's kind of interesting.